Welcome, everybody. Just see some of the familiar faces and some faces I can't see because you've got them blanked out, but that's okay as long as you can hear me. So welcome to our session tonight for Alleviate at 8. 8 if you're in the eastern states of Australia. There's people from all around the world on this group, and I'm from Perth. So it's 6 o'clock. But it's such lovely thing that we've got Zoom that we can all connect at whatever time it is. So this evening we're focusing on healthy emotions. And I thought about it during the day of what I would speak about tonight. And there's a little story that I told. It must have been 18 months, nearly 2 years ago. So I thought, well, some of you may not have heard the story. For some of you, it won't hurt to hear it again. But I worked at a cancer organisation for nearly 3 decades. And at one of the sessions, we were talking about emotions. And we had this doctor come in and he was talking about emotions and feelings and how we all react differently to it, and how, in one situation, you can have a different response with a different person. Like, say, if a dog came into the room, some people say, oh, look at that dog, and feel all warm and cozy and want to pat it. And other people would get fearful and stand back and say, oh, my goodness, get that dog out of here. I don't want anything to do with it. And it's the same sometimes with flying. Some people say, oh, I just love flying, because it means I'm going on a holiday. I'm going to have lots of wonderful experiences. Other people say, oh, I don't want to ever get in a plane. I just want to stay home. So one situation can actually give different reactions. So is it the situation that's happening outside of you that creates these emotions and these feelings, or is it something that's inside of you? And then he went on to tell the story. And so I'll just read it out for you. It's called Circle of Feelings. And it says, a group of people were sitting in a circle talking. And suddenly Diane jumped up, grabbed Harry, and started dancing and being silly in the middle of the group. When they eventually sat down, each person was asked, what did you feel when Diane and Harry were dancing? And these were their answers. Diane said, well, I felt happy because it reminded me of when I was young and I used to dance and have lots of fun. Harry said, well, I felt scared and embarrassed because I would never normally do anything like that. Anne said, well, I felt very sad because it reminded me of my daughter who used to dance and now she's sick and unable to walk. Norm said, well, I felt bad because it reminded me of just how long it's been since I've allowed myself to have fun and just relax. Jim said, well, I felt angry because I was enjoying the conversation, and when they got up and danced, everything changed. And Fiona said, well, I felt glad because it reminded me of just how lucky I am to have such a healthy body and a good life. So one of the men turned to Diane and said, well, aren't you clever, being responsible for making all of these people feel all of these emotions? So the moral of the story is our feelings and emotions are more about us than other people, and can be a good indicator of what's happening in our own lives, pointing us in the right direction to understand and to heal unresolved issues. So that really made me think about when I, back then, wanted to blame other people. Say, oh, they made me feel, or he made me feel, or no, perhaps his behaviour triggered something inside of me that made me feel, or what she said triggered something in me. What did it remind me of? And then for many years, I was very fortunate to fly over to the Gawler Foundation's Mind, Immunity and Health conferences, which were held in the different places over in the what we call the eastern states, where a lot of you reside. And at one of the conferences, one of the presenters got up and she was talking about the difference between reaction and response. So when somebody says something to you, do you react to them or do you respond to them? Or same with their behaviour. Are you reacting to their behaviour or are you responding to their behaviour? And she really defined the difference where responding is like an adult looking at the situation and saying, well, this is what the behavior is. How do I respond to that? Or am I reacting to it, which is reenacting something that's inside of me that is not healed? And this person's behavior, this person's words, this person's response to me has triggered that, which then comes back to the choice that we have, whether we want to be a victim of other people's behavior or whether we want to take responsibility and say, well, okay, they said this, they did that, but what does that mean to me? And that's the power of doing meditation, and that's the power of the app that we have with managing emotions, that you can actually sit there like as the observer and start to observe, what is it in me? Have I responded to this situation, this quote, this whatever's happened in front of me, or am I reacting? And I'm sure you've all been to a party at some stage where you haven't even met someone, but you look across the room and you see someone who reminds you of the teacher that you didn't like at school. And in your mind, you think, yeah, I don't want to go over there and talk to them. Nothing about the person at all. You don't even know them. But in your own memory, in your own being, it's triggering off something that I needed to respond to. So that's the beauty of these meditations. The more you do them, the more you start to get in touch with, what does this situation that's happening out there mean to me? And what can I do to either respond, and if I'm reacting to it, change that response? And that becomes very empowering to you and can really help with stress and anxiety. Anxiety can come for some people hopping into a lift. Well, why is it some people can hop in a lift and not even give it a second thought, and other people just go into a panic? And sometimes you can link that right back to something that happened as a child where they may have been trapped into somewhere, and then they can get help with looking at that situation and change their whole behavior. And when you change your behavior, your life changes. So emotions are very powerful and have a huge control over our lives if we let them. Also, sometimes with emotions, we have stories behind them that we keep telling ourselves. And it's good to, one, if you've got a close friend or someone in the family that you trust and can talk about them and get a second perspective about it. And if you feel, sometimes people feel vulnerable talking to family members about things that have happened, and that's when it's really good to get a professional where you can go and talk them out. And, a professional hasn't got your solutions, but can reflect back to you, well, that's how you see that situation, but have you thought about, and give you a different perspective. And then ultimately it's up to you to make that choice. Yes, I'm happy with the behavior I have about that. Or no, hey, I've never thought about it. And I know with running support groups for 30 years, and myself being in a support group when I was first diagnosed with cancer 35 years ago, I only knew my own thoughts and my own family and friends, the way that we react. And going into a support group, listening to other people, I think, wow, I've never thought about it like that before. So sometimes staying isolated and going around and round and round in your own head, you're chasing your own tail, nothing changes. And sometimes having the courage to ask for help or to reach out and connect with other people can actually help you to open up your mind to other perspectives. So as with everything that I always speak about, I say to people, you can accept or reject anything that I say. Some of you, it may have triggered something in that you might think, oh, that's an interesting perspective. And that's all we ever come from in life, is our own perspective. So I just wanted to give you a different perspective before we start the meditation tonight. So with that little introduction, I now invite you to get ready for a meditation about healthy emotions. Okay, so just taking a few moments to settle into your posture. Sitting in a chair works well, or you might like to lay down to do this exercise. The whole thing is what works well for you. Some of you, if you lie down, may respond by going to sleep. That's not the intent of this session. So if you are lying down, just be aware of what I'm talking about and not drift off to sleep. Not till after I've finished anyhow. Just take a few more moments to adjust your body. With your hands resting on your thighs or simply cupped in the lap. Just notice what works best for you. And then when you're ready, you might like to join me by gently letting your eyes close. And now, as you're settling into this session, I'd like you to remember your intention. A gentle reminder to yourself that you're doing this guided exercise to help yourself. Particularly for balancing your emotions. And then aim to let go of any effort, any striving to make something in particular happen. Just being relaxed and curious. Just observing what happens as you follow the guidance. So now, imagine if you're sitting in person in front of you, person in life that has loved you the most. The person in life who showed you loving kindness. Recall this person and that feeling of being loved, being cared for. And if thinking of such a person is not easy for you, maybe a special pet that you have known. Now remembering them, how they looked, and the feeling of their acceptance, their love, their warmth. And sit with recalling what that was like. Giving yourself over to any feelings, just as you experience them naturally. And as you do so, feeling any love that rises in your heart. So visualizing now this love in the form of light, a warm white light. and see this warm white light coming from the heart of the person who has loved you, that person sitting in front of you, like a gentle beam of white light, like from a lighthouse. And steadily that light becomes stronger and brighter and glowing more and more in your heart. Eventually this light filling your own heart completely before flowing out and gradually filling your entire body so that your whole body is glowing with warm white light, and perhaps even wrapping around you like a cloak or a blanket. And as you feel yourself filling with the warmth and the comfort of this radiant light, you can imagine broadcasting it from your heart back to the heart of the person who really loved you. So letting that light radiate back to them, and in your mind's eye you see them too becoming filled with a gentle, warm white light, getting brighter and brighter, just turning up the dimmer switch and gradually filling their entire body. Just imagine them glowing with radiant, warm white light, and radiating it back to them, to you from their heart. And you continue this back and forward flow of the white light until you have the sense that both of you are now filled with white light, full of loving kindness, full of wishes that the other be well and happy and safe. Now, Imagine a neutral person in your life, a person who you know somewhat casually, but who you know well enough to bring to mind. And now imagine that they were sitting on the right of that person who really loved you. And as you imagine them now in front of you, have the intention to also send to them those same feelings of loving kindness in the form of a warm white light. So now, recalling that person who loved you, rekindling, remembering the feelings of loving kindness you felt from them, imagining your whole body filled with warm white light. As that white light within you becomes brighter and brighter, you naturally radiate the light, seeing that light going from your heart to the person who has loved you, and seeing them filled up with a gentle, warm white light, becoming brighter and brighter, just like turning up a dimmer switch, gradually filling their entire body. Imagine both of you now glowing brilliantly with warm white light. Now radiating it out like a searchlight, a gentle beam of light that travels from your heart to the neutral person's heart. Mentally wishing them to receive whatever they need, to be content, to be peaceful and happy. Filling the neutral person's heart with the same warm white light, flowing out from your heart and filling their entire body. So eventually their whole body is glowing with warm white light. Resting in these feelings now for a few moments. Now think of a person who has been difficult in your life. You do not need to choose the most difficult person. That could be someone who just irritates or annoys you. Just choose someone challenging enough. Whoever comes to mind, simply imagine this person as if they're sitting there in front of you on the right of the neutral person. So there they are. And whatever feelings are aroused by doing this, just notice that. Maybe you notice yourself tightening up a bit. Or maybe feelings of wanting to protect yourself. Maybe even push them out of your mind. So aim to simply relax your body and give these natural reactions some space. And then recall the person who has loved you. The warm glow of their care coming to your heart, filling it completely with white light. And now look again at the difficult person. Now, when you are ready, draw upon this white light once again, and this time project the light to the person who has been difficult. See the light going to this difficult person, like a beam of light flowing into their heart, filling their heart, and gradually their whole body with warm white light. So eventually they too become radiant with light. Turning as you wish to the person who has loved you and re-establishing the flow of white light from their heart to you, and then sending the light to the difficult person with the wish that they be safe, they be well, they be content. Loving kindness. Now, continue to alternate between the three people until the white light is glowing evenly in all three of them. And now simply rest with the feelings of loving kindness, almost as if you were absorbed in those feelings and the presence of the white light. That's good. Good. It's time now to bring your awareness back into the room. When you're ready, you might like to move your feet a little, your hands a little. And when you're ready, just gently allow your eyes to open, bringing back with you that sense of peace and calmness. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope you have a great week, and some of you will be joining the Alleviate Circles over the next week. And if not, then we'll see you next Monday night for Alleviate at 8. Thanks very much.